time for it. There you go.
By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying.
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Bible review. My name is Uziah Lewy, one of the teachers of Congregation Beit CHOKMAH BINAH, giving all glory, thanks to the Supreme Intellect of the universe, Yehovah, the Lord of hosts, who has allowed us to be here once again, who woke us up this morning, who gave us the breath of life, who gives us the breath of life, and allows us to be able to think and be able to expound on his Torah and on the understanding that he left here on earth for mankind to be able to live by. So I'm joined today once again by my brother, my newly minted ordained rabbi, my brother Rabbi Chief Binyamin, and I thank the Most High God for his life as we've been going through these different topics within the Bible. Today we will be covering part 2 of the job of prophets. He didn't get to quite finish up last time, so we'll be finishing up today. And how are you, Rabbi?
Shalom, I'm doing good. Praise and honor to the Most High for all of our lives and waking us up today, giving us knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And just thanking the Most High for allowing us to have this Bible study today, and praying that everybody out there has enjoyed their morning. If been brief, I know most people are probably just waking up, and we definitely appreciate it. Those that join us weekly as we go through our Bible study every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time on this channel. So we definitely appreciate everybody that joins us, and you may continue to share and continue to comment, continue to like, and above all, let us strengthen our connection with the Most High God, and doing so through his word. So as we go through it week by week with the subjects that are suggested by the public, or subjects that come up based on the time of the year that we are in, we do ask that you would join in and encourage others to join in as well, regardless of your faith background. As long as the Bible is your foundation, that is the purpose of our Bible study, so we can all grow together and gain an understanding of the word of the Most High, so that we can understand or learn how to live before him. But today we're going to continue with our subject of the role of a prophet, which we started last time, and there were questions that were out there from last time in regards to the subject, and there was another question that wasn't related to the subject, but we'll get back into that as well, time permitting, throughout this lesson. So again, just praying that the Most High would be with us, that he would bless us with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that he would open up our lips to declare his praise, and hoping that we would not lead astray or allow ourselves to be led astray, but instead just focus our attention on the word of the Most High as it is delivered through us, through the Holy Scriptures, as we continue to read on a daily basis. Just praying that the Most High will open up our eyes. So in regards to our topic, the role of a prophet, and also reminding that people may suggest topics of things that they would like us to discuss for future weeks. You could always put that out there in the chat, whether it's the live chat or in any of the videos. When the videos are no longer live, you could put your questions as well. For those that are not watching live and you have a question, you could feel free to put it in the comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. I know Chief Uziel does a good job of catching up with the comments and the questions that are in the chat. He'll get the notification when someone comments, and he'll respond. And that time, periodically, I'll try to get back into watching the comments of the videos and responding as well. So we are going to continue with our discussion, the role of a prophet. What I'll do is briefly recap how we started the last time with Deuteronomy chapter 13 and Deuteronomy chapter 18. Again, just doing a brief recap, because that will lead us into the rest of our discussion that we will have. So in Deuteronomy chapter 13, it starts off with saying, all this word which I command you that you shall observe to do, thou shalt not add thereto nor diminish from it. If there arise in the midst of thee a prophet or a dream of dreams, and he give thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spoke unto thee, saying, let us go after other gods which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or unto that dream of dreams. For Jehovah your God putteth you to proof to know whether you do love Jehovah your God with all your heart and with all your soul. After Jehovah your God shall you walk, and him shall you fear, and his commandments shall you keep, and unto his voice shall you hearken, and him shall you serve, and unto him shall you cleave. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he hath spoken perversion against Jehovah your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed thee out of the house of bondage, to draw thee aside out of the way which Jehovah thy God commanded thee to walk in. So shalt thou put away the evil from the midst of thee. So those verses, Deuteronomy chapter 13, 1 through 6. Again, just doing a recap. We did more of an explanation last time, but again, we're just going to read these passages, because this leads us into the continuation of our discussion about prophets and prophecy. So Jehovah God, and again, as a reminder, our convention here when we do our Bible study is to mention the name of God in the locations where they exist within the text. So in many of your English translations, you'll see the words the Lord, and in the Hebrew text, the Hebrew manuscript, a majority of the Old Testament, I would say about 95%, maybe at least 90%, because the book of Daniel has a lot of chapters in Aramaic, so does the book of Ezra. So yeah, somewhere around 90 to 95% of the Old Testament is written in Hebrew, and I believe about 100% of the New Testament is written in Greek. But in the Old Testament, the Hebrew text, you'll see the name of God there, where it exists. Sometimes when it gets highlighted, you'll actually see the definition pop up. But as we pronounce it here in our Bible discussion, the name of God is Jehovah, and there are many that pronounce his name as Yahweh. You see that in many books as well, or just hearing people in conversation, they'll pronounce the name as Yahweh, but it's known as the name is also known as the Tetragrammaton, which is the 4 Hebrew characters Yod, He, Waw, He, which correspond to the English YHWH. So a lot of times we'll refer back to the Hebrew text. The majority of our discussion does lead us into the Old Testament, and we defer to the Hebrew text and the Hebrew translations at times. So Jehovah God is teaching the children of Israel through this time, through Moses the prophet, that there'll come up times when a prophet will come up, give a sign of wonder, speak about things that are going to happen in the future, and those things may actually come to pass. But Jehovah God said that if those prophets lead you away from him, lead you away from Jehovah God, and speak about other gods which were not known or are not known to the children of Israel, or are not known to the world at all, then we should not believe that prophet, even though that prophet has spoken something that is true, spoken about a future event that came to pass that happened to be true, that again, if they are directed us away from Jehovah God, that then we should not believe that prophet. So again, we did speak a little bit deeper into that last time. And on the flip side, we have Deuteronomy chapter 18, where Deuteronomy chapter 18 speaks about priests, it speaks about the Levites, it speaks about people that would connect the children of Israel with Jehovah God. And amongst those people are also prophets that Jehovah God will send to speak to the children of Israel. And even before that, it speaks about not believing in soothsayers and diviners, as you will see on the screen, or any type of diviners. But in verse 15, where we will start reading, Jehovah God said, a prophet will Jehovah God raise up. Actually, this is Moses speaking at this time. A prophet will Jehovah thy God raise up unto thee from the midst of thee of thy brethren like unto me. And to him ye shall hearken, according to all that thou didst desire of Jehovah thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Jehovah my God, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not. And Jehovah said unto me, they have well said that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto thee all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet that shall speak a word presumptuously in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. And if thou say in thy heart, how shall we know the word which Jehovah hath not spoken? When the prophet speaks in the name of Jehovah, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which Jehovah have not spoken, the prophet have spoken it presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. So on the flip side, where we read in Deuteronomy chapter 13, you'll have a prophet that is false, that'll speak truth. Here we read about a prophet that speaks the name of Jehovah, but speaks falsely. So Jehovah God says that when a prophet such as this comes up, professing the name of Jehovah God, who is the true and the living God, of course, but then tries to lead people in the wrong direction, then Jehovah God says that, how will we know that that prophet is not a prophet of Jehovah? When they speak something and it does not come to pass, then we know that that prophet speaks lies. And we went through other passages in the Holy Scripture in regards to prophets that spoke in the name of Jehovah God, but were lying and were leading people astray. So there was a question in particular about a situation, and we'll go to the book of 1 Kings chapter 22 to read about that, and that will deal with the question that was asked last week. And being that we have a little bit more time, let me make sure 1 Kings 22. Let me make sure I put that on the screen now. So we're going to basically go through the entire chapter. And just to scroll back, or to talk about what's happening at this time in 1 Kings chapter 21, we see that it's about the king Ahab, who was the king of the northern kingdom of the nation of Israel. We know that after King Solomon, who was the son of King David, that during the time of King Solomon, he did wrong in the sight of the Most High, and the Most High warned that the kingdom would be split, but it would be split after his period of time. And then what that happened in the time of King Solomon's son Rehoboam, who had an opportunity to still do right and keep the nation together, but he decided to listen to bad counsel. And then therefore from there, the northern tribes became their own kingdom, led initially by the tribe of Ephraim. And the tribe of Ephraim pretty much most of the times led the northern kingdom. So the nation of Israel was split into two kingdoms, the kingdom of the north, the kingdom of the south. The kingdom of the north continued to have the name of Israel, The kingdom of the south became known as the kingdom of Judah. And that's why when we read throughout the prophecies and even later on in the writings, it speaks about Israel and Judah, because they at a period of time started to consider themselves as two separate nations. But overall, the nation of Israel is one nation. It was just one nation split into two kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, again, led by Ephraim in the north and Judah in the south. So at this time, King Ahab, or Ahab as it's pronounced, or Ahab as it is pronounced in Hebrew, is the king of the north, and he was not one of the best kings overall when you read his history. He was the one that was married to Jezebel, and many people know of the history of that during that time. So in chapter 22, it's also saying, and they continued 3 years without war between Aram and Israel. And it came to pass in the third year that Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. So again, just as is mentioned, you have the southern kingdom, which is known as Judah, and the northern kingdom, which continue to claim the name Israel. And the king of Israel said unto his servants, know ye that Ramoth Gilead is ours, and we are still, and take it not out of the hand of the king of Aram. Now, Aram is another nation, is known as Syria today. That's the territory that Aram. So anytime you hear the nation of Aram or the kingdom of Aram, is talking about Syria, and that's even modern day Syria, which is north of the territory of Israel today. And when we know throughout history that Jehovah God promised that the children of Israel should inhabit, or the inheritance of the children of Israel would be from the river Euphrates to the river of Egypt. So therefore, the country of Syria is actually part of, or belongs to, the nation of Israel. It's just that the children of Israel did not claim all of the land that was promised, throughout the history. So King Ahab at this time is saying, well, Ramoth Gilead, which is part of Aram, a part of Syria, as you would read in some of your English translations, belongs to the children of Israel. So he's saying, we know it belongs to us, and we're just sitting still. Why don't we just go forth and take it? And he said unto Jehoshaphat, who was the king of Judah, the king of the southern kingdom, wilt thou go with me to battle to Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. And as we read throughout history, even though the nation of Israel is one nation and it was split into two kingdoms, whenever there were evil kings of the north, which were many, that Jehovah God did not want any of the good kings, because there were some evil kings in the southern kingdom as well, or the kingdom of Judah. But whenever there was a good king, Jehovah God did not want them to join up with any of the evil kings of the north. And there were minor good kings of the north. It didn't happen too often. So overall, Jehovah God doesn't want good people to mix with evil people. And what we're going to read here is one of the results of that scenario. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, inquire, I pray thee at the word of Jehovah today. So Jehoshaphat, being one of the good kings of Judah, always sought out Jehovah God in everything that he did. Ahab, who's the king of the north, sought out foreign gods, false gods, the gods that his wife Jezebel worshipped, and worship that she instituted within the kingdom. Verse 6, then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, go up, for Jehovah will deliver it into the hand of the king. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not here besides a prophet of Jehovah, that we might inquire of him? So that relates us back to what we were reading in Deuteronomy chapter 13 and 18. That Jehoshaphat saw that none of these prophets, there were 400 people, 400 men standing before him, prophesying, saying, go up into battle. But he said that none of them were speaking the name of Jehovah God, or speaking the word of Jehovah God. So he's asking him, is there not one that you can inquire of? And the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man by whom we may inquire of Jehovah, Micaiah, the son of Imlah, but I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so. Well, the reason why Micaiah, who was a prophet of Jehovah God, was always prophesying evil against Ahab is because Ahab was doing evil. So the more evil that he did, or the more evil that Ahab did, the more evil that Micaiah would prophesy against Ahab. And that's basically what the situation was. But Jehoshaphat is saying, if you have a prophet of Jehovah, don't say that he's just speaking evil. Verse 9, then the king of Israel called an officer and said, fetch quickly Micaiah, the son of Imlah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, arrayed in their robes in the threshing floor at the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them. So while people are going to get this prophet of Jehovah, Micaiah, these 400 men are still prophesying falsely to Jehoshaphat and Ahab. And Zedekiah, the son of Kenana, that's actually Kenana, made him horns of iron and said, thus says Jehovah, with these shalt thou gore the Arameans until they be consumed. And again, now this relates directly to Deuteronomy 18, where you have a prophet speaking the name of Jehovah God, but not speaking truth. And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for Jehovah will deliver it into the hand of the king. Possibly what happened at this time is because these were prophets of false gods, but when Jehoshaphat said that he wanted to hear from the word of Jehovah, that now that these false prophets are now speaking the name of Jehovah out of their mouths. And the messenger that went to call Micaiah spoke to him, saying, behold, now the words of the prophet declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak thou good. And Micaiah said, as Jehovah liveth, what Jehovah said unto me, but Jehovah says unto me, that will I speak. Which is what a true prophet of Jehovah God should do, is not succumb to what people are telling them to say, but saying what Jehovah God said to say. And when he was come to the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, go up and prosper, and Jehovah will deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, this is Ahab at this time, and the king said unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou speak unto me nothing but the truth in the name of Jehovah? Because he sensed sarcasm. He sensed sarcasm from Micaiah when he said that Jehovah said, go forth and he would deliver Ramoth Gilead into thy hand. And therefore, Micaiah now says, and he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. And Jehovah said, these have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil? And he said, therefore hear thou the word of Jehovah. And this is Micaiah speaking right now, and I'm speaking of a vision. And this is where the question that came up last time came up. And he said, therefore hear thou the word of Jehovah. I saw Jehovah sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Jehovah said, who shall entice Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said, on this manner, and another said, on that manner. And there came forth the spirit and stood before Jehovah and said, I will entice him. And Jehovah said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth and will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt entice him and shalt prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now therefore, behold, Jehovah hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Jehovah hath spoken evil concerning thee. So Micaiah is speaking of a vision that Jehovah God gave him, but the result of it, as is being related through the vision, is that the prophets that was the 400 prophets that were speaking to Ahab and Jehoshaphat were speaking lies. And they were speaking lies to entice Ahab to go into battle, to war against Aram, and to lose that battle. And the reason why he was being enticed to go into that battle is because Ahab himself was doing evil most of his tenure as king. And this was going to be his final judgment. He had opportunities to return to Jehovah God and do right, but he kept going back and forth. So this was going to be his final judgment, that Jehovah God was going to lead him into battle where he would die in battle. Just like we know that King Saul was led into battle and he died in battle. And there were other kings that were led into battle after they did evil in the sight of Jehovah God, and Jehovah God caused them to die in battle against foreign kings. And that became their demise. So this would become the demise of Ahab, and Micaiah is warning him during this time. And even with this warning, we know that through the history, as we will read, that Ahab didn't listen. And now, therefore, reading verse 23 again, now, therefore, behold, Jehovah hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Jehovah hath spoken evil concerning thee. Then Zedekiah, the king of Canaan, came near and smote Micaiah on the cheek and said, which way went the spirit of Jehovah from me to speak unto thee? Because he's now being sarcastic as well. The Zedekiah, the son of Canaan, is being sarcastic, striking a prophet, that we should touch not Jehovah's prophets, nor touch not his anointed, nor do his prophets any harm. So this is going to be Micaiah's response in regards to that. And Micaiah said, behold, thou shalt see on that day when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself. He's saying, because when this destruction comes, you're going to be hiding yourself. You're not going to be speaking proudly and doing all the stuff you're doing right now. And the king of Israel said, take Micaiah and carry him back unto Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and say, thus says the king, put this fellow in the prison and feed him with scant bread and with scant water until I come in peace. So this is the haughtiness of Ahab, that he's receiving the word of Jehovah God. Jehoshaphat requested that of him. He knows, because he said when Micaiah was speaking sarcastically that he would prosper, he knew that it was a lie. But now when he's speaking about the demise or his death, and he should know at this time that that's the truth, he's still thinking that he's going to return in peace. And Micaiah said, and if thou return at all in peace, Jehovah have not spoken by me. And he said, hear ye peoples, all of you. So we're going to stop here. Well, actually, just going to read verse 29. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the result of this is that Ahab actually died in the battle, as Jehovah God said. And Israel became scattered because they had no shepherd at this time. But later on, Ahab's son, takes over the throne. So in regards to the question that was asked in terms of why would Jehovah God send the lying spirit, again, it was done as we read here, in order to entice Ahab to be led into his final judgment, to be led into his death. And we have read, and we're going to go back into Deuteronomy chapter 13, because there's something that was key that was said there. When there comes false prophets that speak lies. And verse 6. Actually, it's not there. It's verse 5. Again, about a false prophet that speaks in the name of false gods. Verse 5, after Jehovah your God shall you walk, and him shall you fear, and his commandments shall you keep, and unto his voice shall you hearken, and him shall you serve, and unto him shall you cleave. And that's, basically our focus is that we're supposed to focus on the word of Jehovah God completely. And Ahab was not doing that all of his life. So he should expect to be led into his death, but he had warning. And we also read here that Jehovah God will test us through false prophets to see whether we would follow him or not. As we read in on verse 4, just going back a little bit more. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of thy prophet or unto thy dreamer of dreams, for Jehovah your God putteth you to proof to know whether you do love Jehovah your God with all your heart and with all your soul. And Ahab did not love Jehovah his God. Well, actually, Jehovah wasn't his God. He did not love Jehovah God with all his heart and with all his soul. So therefore, Jehovah God tested him with words of false prophets that will lead him to his destruction. So many times Jehovah God warns us. So there are many things that we read within scripture that we should take as lessons for ourselves to know that Jehovah God will test us, but we have to show ourselves approved and follow the word of Jehovah God as opposed to following the words of false prophets. So hopefully that answers that question there. And if there are any other questions about prophets and prophecy, we'll take those questions at this time. I know this was a lengthy explanation That's why we didn't, continue with or get to complete it the first time. But that question was a wordy question. It also fell in line with everything that we were speaking about. And last time we spoke about a prophet that led another prophet to his death, because there was one prophet that heard the word of Jehovah God, and he was told, to deliver a word. And then once he delivered the word, don't speak to anybody when he's going back home. The same way he traveled is not the way he should return. But there came another prophet that spoke to that prophet and told him that he heard from Jehovah God that he should stop with him and eat some food or whatever. But that prophet that heard the word directly from Jehovah God was not supposed to listen to that, and therefore he met his demise as well. So at this time, we're going to go into the questions. So if anybody has any questions or any comments on this subject, we'll take them at this time. I'm just going through as well, reading one right here. Doesn't God sending a lying spirit contradict Numbers 23:19? God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should feel repentance or compunction for what he has promised. So the vision that Micaiah gave to Ahab, is what he said it was. It was a vision. Now we see the word lie in both passages, the passage in Numbers and the passage in Kings. But we've also read in Deuteronomy chapter 13 that Jehovah God will send false prophets to test us to see whether we will follow him or not. So in just my interpretation, I don't view it as a contradiction, because we have already been warned or forewarned, as we read in Deuteronomy chapter 13, that Jehovah God will send false prophets to test us whether we will follow Jehovah God with all our heart, with all our soul or not. So that's why, again, in my interpretation, I don't view it as a contradiction. The word lie is used there. I acknowledge that the word lie is used there in 1 Kings, but also that word was used in conveying a message from a vision. The vision that Micaiah was given is not something that actually took place. There are many visions that are given as parables. So basically what Micaiah was given Ahab was a parable about, and telling him that his prophets were lying to him. That was the ultimate message that was conveyed at that time, that the prophets of Ahab were the ones that were lying, and it was not actually Jehovah God that was lying, because Jehovah God is the one that's told the truth. He told the truth through Micaiah, saying that the children of Israel would, went into battle, and all of them went every man to their own tent, because they had no shepherd at the end of that battle. But he said that it was the prophets themselves, or the false prophets, that were the ones that were lying. So that should be the way to look at it, that it wasn't Jehovah God that was lying, but it was the prophets that were lying. And again, the vision Micaiah gave is to show that it was the prophets that was speaking to Ahab that was lying, and not Micaiah himself, who was speaking the word of Jehovah God.
I don't see any other questions here. Well, we do know that the job of the prophets was difficult. Some prophets were told to. What do you think about that? The prophet that was commanded to marry a harlot. What forget which prophet that was.
That one, Hosea.
Hosea.
Mm-hmm.
So did he have to marry a harlot that was actively still a harlot? What word does he use?
I know he's, Jehovah God told him to marry a woman of harlotry. I mean, we can go there as well. I don't believe that she was a harlot at the time when, no, I would say.
But I mean, think about it.
Because she did go astray.
Right,
did
but
go
this is what
astray.
I'm saying. It's telling him to marry
Correct.
a woman of
Of
harlotry
harlotry.
so
Right.
that he would know the feeling, that we would know the feeling, or he would know the feeling that he has when we go a whoring after. I think that
Right.
was the premises of him, the Most High telling the prophet Hosea to go and marry a woman of harlotry. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So that
Um,
you would know the feeling.
so you know the feeling. So we're going to read it, verse 2. It's only
Right,
verse 2, Hosea chapter 1, verse 2. When Yahweh spoke at first with Hosea, Yahweh said unto Hosea, go take unto thee a wife of harlotry and children of harlotry, for the land does commit great harlotry, departing from Yahweh. So in conjunction with what you said in terms of Hosea would know the feeling
right,
of that is also a sign to the children of Israel. But many prophets did things that were signs to the children of Israel, like prophets walking around naked, prophets eating things that they were not supposed to eat.
right,
As you mentioned, they ended up doing things that were difficult even for them to do, but they did things as a sign for the children of Israel. When they saw it, they would see
right,
also what was going to happen. So not only Hosea getting the feeling or being able to convey a message through the feelings that he would have,
right,
but also the children of Israel, when they see this, it was a sign to them that they would or were supposed to see themselves as harlots, basically, doing harlotry with false gods and also being children of harlotry. Because he said, take unto thee a wife of harlotry and children of harlotry. So Hosea ended up having again the children with the harlot, which were his children, but being that she was a harlot, and Hosea, as you mentioned, would have to consider, or probably was considering whether these children were his or not. He would have that feeling as Jehovah God had concerning the children of Israel. But Hosea would have compassion on his children in the long run. And the sign there is that Jehovah God will eventually have compassion upon the children of Israel. Where, with children of harlotry, the man was question whether those are his children or not, the same way Jehovah God was looking at the children of Israel saying that these are not my people. Or, other people were saying that these are not his people. But ultimately, Jehovah God, claimed us and has compassion over us.
yeah. Because that's always, being a prophet is not a easy it's not an easy requirement. I mean, some prophets. I mean, in any circumstance, even Moses as a prophet, he endured. Basically, it cost him his life. Would you
Mm-hmm.
agree?
Yeah.
Being a prophet, and you have who was the other one? Jeremiah was told to walk around naked, right?
I believe that was
That wasn't Jeremiah.
Isaiah. I believe that was
That was
Isaiah.
Isaiah. Isaiah was told to walk around naked. So, I mean, I'll tell you this much, right? If a prophet was to walk around today, we would have to be really careful, because if a prophet was to walk around today and we seen somebody walking around naked, we would think that they were just a crazy person.
Yeah. And that's what, is yeah, we have to be careful of how we view people. They're going to be people that um are not of the right mind. But we don't know, at the same time, we don't know
Right,
who Jehovah God is sending unto us. And some people that appear to us as not having the right mind could be sent as a test to us to show us really that we are the ones that don't have the right mind.
right.
So Jehovah God be considered as a sign, sending us signs of those type of people again, showing us ourselves. So there are things that we have to consider as well, in regards to that.
Yeah, because sometimes you get people that I've seen this happen, like people that are completely look off and look and speak off, and then they have a moment of clarity and they giving you, and you almost like, because Torah, you like, what he's telling me is right. or what she's telling me is right. And then they go back to their moment of it. That has happened to me more than one time. And I could testify to that. You know, that has happened more than one time. One time, I mean, unfortunately, I was on my way to central booking. For those who know what central booking is, you know what central booking is. But this guy was in the cell next door. He was going crazy. He was bananas. They had to put him in his own separate cell because he was just banging his head. He was going crazy. And then when we got into the van to take us to central booking, we left the precinct to go to the van to go to central booking. The guy was like, he was just explaining to someone why they shouldn't call it, like his perspective of why you shouldn't call the police, why you shouldn't get people involved with you and your family and certain things. Like, he just like had a moment of clarity, but he was completely off when he was on the cell, spitting, throwing water. He was going crazy. He was off. And I was like, they're gonna put us in the van with this dude, you know? But when he was in the van, he went. He started asking people what happened, why they were there, and why they were going to central booking. And he had like a moment of clarity and knowing Torah. You like, what he's saying is right. And then he went back to cursing out the police and going crazy and kicking and doing all types of stuff. So I know that happens. You know, that's my story.
Yeah,
so
so
ate dung.
yeah. Yeah, so I believe it was Isaiah that had to walk around naked. Yes, Ezekiel's the one that had to eat cow's dung. Jeremiah was just thrown in prison numerous times.
Yeah.
So many of them had to do a lot of things, but they were signs. We'll see people today. You spoke from a New York perspective, and also another New York perspective. And we know this person is not speaking in the word of Jehovah God, but you know the guy, I'm just talking to Chief Uziel right now, on Union and
on
Utica. Right. Once I say Union and Utica, everybody knows.
Ross.
Everybody knows.
Rasta.
But he would do things that prophets of ancient times would do.
Right.
But we know that because he's speaking specifically of a false God, we should not believe him. But in terms of actions, he does things that people that we read about would be doing. Right. Just to give an example of what prophets do. But that's why this topic is definitely relevant, because they're all going to be false prophets. There was a question I just saw going back onto the previous video. Is the age of prophets over, or do they, or basically the question is the age of the prophets over? I don't believe personally that the age of the prophets is over or will ever be over. As we read in Deuteronomy chapter 18, Jehovah God said he will send a prophet like Moses, or Moses related to the children of Israel, that Jehovah God will send a prophet like himself. Now, we may not see those individuals during this time, but it was also read in the book of Malachi yesterday that there's going to be people praising Jehovah God somewhere, because he's the God of the entire earth, and he's great beyond the borders of Israel. That's another passage that was said in the book of Malachi. So we may not be seeing the abundance of prophets as in this time as was read in time past, because of the scattering of the children of Israel, because of the disconnect between Jehovah God and the children of Israel, and ultimately the disconnect between Jehovah God and the earth. But overall, I wouldn't say that the age of prophecy is over. There will always be people that are professing the name or the word of Jehovah God. And again, as we spoke about last week, prophet is not just one that is just receiving visions and speaking of future events through visions or through dreams, but a prophet is one that inspires. The original, when you go to the root word or the etymology of the word prophet in Hebrew, prophet is nabi in Hebrew. But when you get to the etymology of that word or the root or the original meaning of that word, it's one who inspires. So inspiration can come through many forms. And that's why, again, this topic is relevant, because you may have people who claim to be inspired, but speak in the name of a God beside Jehovah God. And then you'll have people that are speaking the words of Jehovah God and are inspired to do so. So again, the inspiration can come through many forms, and not just through the dreams and through the visions that we read about, but Jehovah God can choose any method that he desires to communicate with us. So he can send prophets to us, and we may not call them prophets today specifically, but he can send people to us that can inspire us to follow his word.
But wouldn't we consider who was it, Bilam? Wouldn't we say that he was one of those type of prophets? That not necessarily he wasn't a Israelite prophet. So then what was he? Because he was called a prophet.
Right. He was initially called a prophet. Right. And then after a period of time, well, we read in the book of Joshua, he was known as a sorcerer, based on certain things that he did in his life.
But initially he was called a prophet.
Yeah, initially
he called a prophet of the Lord?
Yeah. So because he communicated directly with Jehovah God. Definitely.
All right. So then, but did it mean that he worshiped the Most High, or was God using him as a tool to be able to communicate, not just to be able to communicate to other nations, because he really wasn't communicating to Israel?
Right. So it would be an intersection between both things you said, because he would be the prophet of Jehovah God to the nations.
Gotcha.
And he would communicate to the nations the way that Jehovah God would want him to communicate. So, you read about where he says, the vision, I'll go there specifically, but he talks about like falling down with eyes open. So he would do things like appearing to be in a trance. And that's how other nations, would recognize certain things. So Jehovah God was speaking through through trances. Gotcha. And other people, through visions and dreams. So yeah, it would be various methods that Jehovah God would choose. But yeah, Bilam was a prophet to the nations. And, he, as far as we read, he didn't speak of any other God beside Jehovah. And he even said that, whatever Jehovah God says to him, he will do. And he, as you mentioned, yeah, he was only, as far as we read, he was only dealing with foreign nations. We don't read what Bilam spoke directly to the children of Israel. The Moabites, were dealing with him. The Midianites were dealing with him. But we don't read where the children of Israel were dealing with Bilam.
Gotcha. No, it's interesting, the concept of a prophet. Like, I guess there's not a choice in being a prophet. But when we think back of being a prophet, would you really want to be a prophet? Because in the long run, what's the benefit?
Well, the benefit is not something that people would opt to do. I don't think it's something that people would raise their hands and say, well, except for Isaiah. We don't see it's something that people would raise their hand to want to do. The benefit of it, however, would be that you get to communicate with the Most High God.
And a good name?
Yeah, so you'll get benefits that well, and let's put it like on this perspective as well. The benefit of a prophet would be more beneficial when the children of Israel were doing good. Now the things that we think about with the prophets and what they went through is because the children of Israel were not doing good. So therefore, they had to do things and go through things based on how the nation was living. But Jehovah God said, basically through Moses, that there will always be a prophet in the midst of us to communicate with us. So as long as we're doing good, the prophet will communicate with us and everything will be fine. But when we're doing bad, the prophet will communicate with us and we'll end up having to go through situations that were not favorable to the prophet. So I would say it's basically the benefit would be based on whether the children of Israel listen to that prophet or not.
So then another question I have, would the patriarch Isaac be considered a prophet? I know Abraham will be considered a prophet, and I know that Jacob will be considered a prophet, right? Because of the dream.
Right.
No, hold on. Jacob and Abraham. But then would Isaac be considered a prophet?
Yeah, he received a vision of Jehovah God concerning his life and concerning the future. And also along with that, Rebecca received prophecy.
So she's a prophetess.
Right, because she received the information about the twins and
twins
being two nations. So, she received prophecy not just about her life, but in terms of the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then out of the 12 tribes of Israel, who would be considered prophets?
Yeah, there would be many, because because even when we read in the time of Ahab, who you just read about, when Jezebel was killing the prophets of Jehovah, there was still a period of time where...
talking about, let me rephrase the question. Out of the 12 sons of Jacob.
Oh, the 12 sons.
Right.
Definitely Joseph, because he received the dreams. And he was wholehearted with Jehovah God, so definitely Joseph. Is there another instance where any of the other sons communicated directly with Jehovah God? Nothing else comes to mind right now. Whether any of the other ones were prophets or not, I don't know.
So the prophet is really it could just happen. It could be a one-time prophecy. It could be, it doesn't have to be a lot of incidents to make you a prophet of the Most High God, I guess.
Yeah, it's like with King Saul, when he was, he had his visions and he had his quote unquote trance. People were asking, well, is King Saul among the prophets? Because that statement, came at least twice in the Holy Scriptures in the history that, people consider King Saul a prophet because of the things that he did in specific period. Like he wasn't prophesying like throughout his tenure as king, but it was certain instances in his tenure that he did certain things that people said, well, is Saul among the prophets? So this is probably that question you have now is a question that people were probably having it for ages, like who was a prophet and who was not a prophet, based on whatever was done.
So it says here, there's some questions here. I think I've been discussing it. If God divorced Israel, doesn't Deuteronomy 24, did you read that? If God divorced Israel, doesn't Deuteronomy 24, 1-4 say God cannot take Israel back? Jeremiah 3:8, I gave faithless Israel her certificate of divorce, sent her away because of all her adulteries.
So that again is another parable, because as human beings, based on Deuteronomy chapter 24, when a man divorces a woman, if she goes to another man, and if that husband, that current husband either passes away or divorces her, then the previous husband cannot take her back. That is the law of God for human beings. So Jehovah God gives the parable through the prophet Jeremiah saying, yeah, this is the law that was given unto us. But he's saying that even though Israel has committed adultery with foreign gods, that he will still take us back. So he's just giving it to us as a parable. Is not to say that Yeah, because Jehovah God doesn't break his own law. So it's not to say that he's breaking law, that he couldn't take Israel back, but he gave that as a parable to say that, we went astray, we committed adultery with foreign gods, but he's keeping his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and still latching on to the children of Israel.
Right here we have also I'll get it right here. Greetings from Isabania, Kenya. Greetings to you, James Wocha from Isabania, Kenya. All right here. Shalom, can you explain why the man of God was torn by lions after being tricked by the false prophet?
And so he was torn by lions because, and I know we explained that in one detail last week, remember, just to give a summary of why he was torn by the lion, is because he did not follow the word of Jehovah God. Jehovah God told him, deliver this message, don't speak to anybody on the way, say what you're supposed to say, and after you say it, go back home, but don't go back home by the way that you travel to that city. And when you're going back home, don't stop by anybody, don't speak to anybody, don't eat any food or anything like that. But there was a false prophet that spoke in the name of Jehovah God and told him that Jehovah told him or sent him to that prophet to say, nah, it's okay. Come and eat with me, because he said that I'm a prophet of Jehovah God also. But that original prophet received the word from Jehovah God directly. He heard the voice of Jehovah God. So even though another individual came in and said, well, I'm speaking the word of Jehovah as well, he was supposed to weigh up in his mind, I heard the voice of Jehovah God. And therefore, being that I heard the voice of Jehovah God, I'm supposed to follow what Jehovah God told me directly, as opposed to what somebody is presuming to say that through that individual. So that's why he was torn by lions, because he didn't follow the word directly.
We got here.
And I'm gonna go. In the meantime, you can read the next question, but I'm gonna pull up that chapter and verse. And also, again, we did explain the read to that the last time in part one. Yeah, so that, a lot of part two that we're doing today is basically because of the question that was asked at the end with 1 Kings chapter 22, which required more explanation. So
she asked, why was the false prophet not judged? Just to follow up that question.
We don't. Yeah, so we don't read what the end of
his life is.
His life was.
Yeah.
So we can't say that. We shouldn't say that that prophet was not judged. The message that was given unto us is through the judgment of the original prophet. That message is, whenever we hear the word of Jehovah God, that we're supposed to follow it and not let anybody deter us by speaking in the name of Jehovah God something other than we know to be true. So it's possible that was the second prophet, his demise was not written, is because we're supposed to focus on the message for us through the first prophet. So that, I'm just giving that as an interpretation. I'm saying that that's exactly what happened, but it's possible that is the reason why we don't read about his demise.
Mm-hmm. It says here, what is the benefit? What are the benefits of a prophet eating dung? What can one learn of that? Is it a trial of one's faith?
So when we see somebody doing something that is disgusting unto us, it invokes a feeling of disgust. Yeah, I'm just using the word disgusting twice in the same sentence. But when we see somebody doing something disgusting, it invokes that feeling within us. So the benefit of it would be, we're supposed to see how Jehovah God is looking at us. So when we saw the prophet eating dung, and that was nasty, we're supposed to consider how Jehovah God is looking at us when we're doing nasty things, and more specifically, eating unclean. So that's, again, that's supposed to be, so the prophet, as we mentioned earlier, is doing things that many of us would not want to do, and it's not a benefit necessary to the prophet themselves, but they're supposed to be invoking feelings in us through their actions, because the words were not resonating in us as it was supposed to. So therefore, Jehovah God, started giving the prophets actions to perform in front of us.
All right, things they don't discuss in church. Trans is not Hebrew, has no Hebrew definition in concordance, but in Greek, trans is ecstasia, like the drug ecstasy. Will God communicate through a drug state?
The word trance was used, for lack of a better term, when it came to Balaam. I was
You were
looking
just trying
for
to find something that would kind of
to relate to today's
right.
time. But yeah, because we would call what Balaam was doing a trance, based on the things that he was doing. But it also was told that there's no enchantment with Jacob, nor divination in Israel, and that's one of the things that Balaam said. So yeah, it wouldn't be a drugged up state or anything like that Balaam was doing. But again, just so I'll pull it up on the screen, the exact passage that I call the trance. This is Balaam. This is Numbers chapter 24, verse 3. And he took up his parable and said, the saying of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the saying of the man whose eye is open, the saying of him who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty falling down, yet with eyes open. So the word trance was just used because that's, in English, we would consider that, somebody falling down and getting a vision with their eyes open. The best word that, we could think of today would probably be trance. So that's why I use that word, but not saying that's the origin of the word trance, but that's what we were seeing. And I was going back to, while you look for something else, there was a question from the last time, which wasn't in regards to prophecy, but I just want to make sure that it gets answered. In regards to Lot's daughters, the question was, if Lot's daughters had husbands, would it have been considered adultery for Lot to send out his daughters? For what we read specifically is that the daughters that were with him in the house did not know man. We know that when we read in Numbers chapter 19, Lot, when he received the message from the messengers, that he went out of his house to speak to his sons-in-laws that married his daughters. So it's possible that he had, one interpretation is that he had other daughters, and that those daughters were with, their husbands. So when he went out to his son-in-laws, is because, those were his son-in-laws who married his daughters. He wanted to get that faction of his family out the city, and they didn't listen. So he went back to the house, he went back to his house, and the daughters that were with him in the house were the ones that did not know man or were virgins. So it would be a separation. So that's one way to look at it, that it was a separation between the daughters that were with him in the house and the daughters that were out of the house that had married husbands already. Just wanted to make sure I caught up with that question from the last time.
I think I don't see any more questions. I think you have exhausted the topic of the role of a prophet. It certainly wasn't an easy role. Prophets were slapped, spat on, kicked. It's certainly something that most of us then don't have the temperament to do. I guess you have to have a temperament for it also to be a prophet. So may the Creator continue to bless those who. And the question will be, do we have prophets today?
Yeah, that's what's from the. Yeah, so I believe that they are out there. We just don't know directly who they are, but there would always be people receiving inspiration from Jehovah God, and directing us in the right path. So because that question was asked in one of the previous videos, whether the age of the prophets is over. But yeah, I don't think that the age of the prophets will ever be over.
I think that's it. I don't think there's any more questions. I think we've reached to the end of this topic. So what are we looking forward to next week, Rabbi?
So for next week, because we have a few topics, maybe we'll go back into continue with Isaiah. Because we did Isaiah 7 in the past, and we still have to do chapters 8 and 9, and then eventually get to Isaiah chapter 54, 53.
Really from 52, like.
Yeah. Yeah, it encompasses 52 and stuff before that, from 40 all the way. But in terms of just Isaiah 53 itself, and that may, because we're going to go through a couple of chapters, it may take a few sessions.
A couple of hours.
I mean, it could be done in an hour, just going through it straight. But overall, we try to, for everybody out there, we try to just focus 20 minutes or 30 minutes on the topic, and then give people the opportunity to comment or question afterwards. So if doing it that way, it may take more than one session, just breaking it up, with the explanations of certain chapters and passages, and then giving time for people to comment and question.
I'm sure people are ready to hear your
so
explanation.
That's already on the list. I know the question of birthdays will eventually get to. The question of the Shield of David will eventually get to, and women wearing pants will eventually get to as well. So those are some of the topics that people have raised.
I just want to say this on the Shield of David. We stayed away from it because in terms of our emblem for the congregation, because it's a topic of controversy, but a lot of the things that it is accredited to is completely false. Like people said was the Star of Ishtar. The Star of Ishtar was just a star that they made. Sometimes it had 8 points, sometimes it had 9 points. It's like a lot of things that were just made up to for whoever the teacher was, to satisfy their understanding, or whatever somebody wrote in a book that couldn't be confirmed. Like when you look up a lot of these things and you're like, all right, let me see the Star of Ishtar. And I knew this from years ago. I'm like, the Star of Ishtar is just, they designed it like a star. Sometimes it might have 7 points, 8 points, 9 points. They just made something that they thought was shining like a star. So we have to be careful with that. Now, I'm not going to go into like details of the origins and all that stuff because it doesn't really I don't really you really can't see like a real beginning point. But I will say, like, you can't spread something that you really don't know. You know what I mean? And you can't or spread information that you really don't know because somebody told you it comes from this, it comes from that, doing this, you're doing that. You know, you really. So I leave people alone with they do. I believe it was the shield of David and what David used. I don't believe that, you know, but I don't want to start attributing it to, you know, I heard things before like it's the symbol of the devil, you know, and is the, I mean, there's all types of stuff. The man stretched out like this with his head, his two arms, his legs, and his penis. It's like I've heard all types of stuff. Oh, they use it in witchcraft, and you know, you use Hebrew. They use Hebrew prayers in witchcraft. It don't originate from witchcraft, you know. So it's a lot of stuff. I'm not gonna, you know, we don't use it really in the emblems of our congregation, but I don't want it to be a thing where people just start making up stuff and not doing the research behind it in order to justify your points that you're making in terms of it, and that's that.
Yeah, so that, yeah, when we mentioned that, being as a question that came up, we'll give people time to bring forth their research. So that way, with those controversial topics, we'll give people a heads up at least 3 weeks before we're going to touch it, so that people can, you know, get, as well as us, you know, get our research together so that we can present it and have a nice discussion. You know, we avoid debating on this forum in terms of Bible study.
Right.
So, you know, we just want people to collect their data as well as us and put it together.
Hallelujah. So I have something else to do. I'm really supposed to be there within an hour, so
And I was going to mention, are you streaming that here or on your channel?
probably on my channel.
Okay.
I try not to do the memorial services on the D.C.B. Try to keep that strictly for, you know, the lessons and everything. For most part, you know. So if it would be streamed, I know she wants it on Zoom, but if it would be streamed, if I would use a stream, it will be on my channel to do that memorial service.
Okay. And just for people that know don't know what we're talking, it may be streamed or not on live, but a member of our congregation and also an elder that of our community, her son passed away a few weeks ago, and they're doing a memorial service today. So we're heading out to that. So definitely condolences out to Gerard Yasuda, the mother, and Batovia, who's a member of this congregation. Nizria, who's actually another sister who's actually living in Israel, also known as Savlanut, and the rest of the family as well. Condolences out to the entire family. So it may be streamed. And that's what we're speaking about it. The memorial service may be streamed, but if not, people that are
I'm
listening,
sure most likely it'll be streamed.
yeah,
So
you can offer your condolences out there. To you can send a message. I guess to this congregation if you want to send condolences out to the family.
Hallelujah. So thank you all once again for being with us. May the Most High God bless you all. And also for all of you who would like to help us out, you know, help out our congregation, you could donate to us, and we'll put this up here on the screen. Or you could just get a quick scan on your cell phones, or you could donate to us on Zelle. Email address is info@baitdcb.org. That's our email address for everything. So info@baitdcb.org. You could donate to us there. You can also donate if you want to go straight to the PayPal app. It's that same email, info@baitdcb.org. or on Cash App, money symbol, Bait D.C.B, or you could donate to us on the chat, on the super chat, right? On the bottom, you press the money symbol, and boom, you donate to us. You know, we don't put this on Patreon. We don't charge for this because we come from a school, especially me and the rabbi. I think we've been worshiping together for like 30 years. So maybe over 30 years. So since we were teenagers. So we came up together in the same school, and we were always taught that you buy wisdom, but you sell it not. So we ask for donations just to help to further the congregation and the things that we do, buying equipment. We constantly try to update our equipment and stuff to make it a more desirable viewing experience for all of you. We don't shortchange ourselves on doing that because we know it's important for so many of you who are in so many parts of the world and in so many states, and you might be too far away from a congregation. So we just ask you all to help us and to contribute, and we appreciate anything that you do. No donation is too small, and we appreciate you all. So as I say these words, I pray that the Most High God look down upon each and every one of us and grant us a blessing. Wada Yivareka Yehovah Yishmareka. Ya'ir Yehovah Panao Leka Wikuneka. Yisa Yehovah Panao Leka Yasem Leka Shalom. May Yehovah bless thee and keep thee. May Yehovah make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and may he grant thee peace. Amen. May the Most High God bless each and every one of you. So remember, we probably will be starting, if you know the Uziel Lewy channel, my name is Uziel Lewy. If you want to check out the memorial service, we probably be on there from about 11:45, 12 o'clock, all right? So everyone have a blessed day, and shalom, shalom. Peace and blessings to everyone. Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do the love should be coming from the leaders, yeah.